which the EU differs very fundamentally from other negotiating bodies, like the UN, like a negotiation perhaps with a trade union or an employer, and we also look at the particularity of the Council. The Council, in this classic triangle of three EU institutions: the Commission, the Parliament, and the Council. Of those three institutions, more than the other two, the Council is characterized by a culture of negotiation. And why is that? It's partly, I think, because the other institutions come to a view, certainly with negotiation being part of the process, but also, especially in the case of the Parliament, more through a voting culture than a negotiating culture. So we talk about the Council and the nature of the Council, the fact that the Council is at the same time an executive and a legislature, the fact that the Council arranges its work on a sectoral basis, but legally is a single, coherent and whole institution. But we also try to understand the Council as a negotiating machine. What do I mean by that? Well, I think a machine where at one end of the machine we feed in some issues which can be both politically and technically extremely complex, but where this machine delivers, sometimes after quite some time, sometimes after less time, but where this machine delivers much more often than not solutions at the other end. So how does this negotiating machine work? What explains its historic success in that respect? To explain that success, I think we have to distinguish between theory and practice. And it was, I think, Einstein who said, in theory and practice are the same, but in practice they're not. In the Council's case, I think that translates as meaning, well, you need to read the rules of the game in order to understand the game of negotiations in the Council. But reading and understanding the rules of the game are not enough. And we shouldn't really be surprised by that. I mean, after all, none of us would really imagine why somebody could become a good golfer or somebody who's good at soccer by simply reading the rules of golf or the rules of soccer. You've got to get out there and you need to play the game. You need to know the rules, but you will never really get good at the game unless you play the game. What about this machine, then, this negotiating machine that is the Council? Well, I think one of the best ways to understand it is, like most modern machines, it's something that combines two quite different aspects. The first is it's a machine with hardware. Let's describe it as hardware, like a computer has hardware. And in the Council's case, the hardware is composed of rules, a set of rules. All of those rules you can find publicly available. They can be found in the treaties of the European Union and in the Council's own rules of procedure. So we look at those rules, at that hardware, to try to understand who are the members of this institution. How do they act together? What are the mechanics that bring them together at different levels of negotiation? What are the essential elements? And what are the basic processes by which this machine works? But just as it's very difficult to understand how a computer works if you only understand the hardware, so it is with the Council. Because the Council, if it's a negotiating machine, is a machine that has both hardware and software. What do I mean by the software? Well, just as in a computer, it's the software that really breathes life into this machine. It explains better than rules can how the actors interact with each other. The software of the council is a political and administrative culture that helps you understand how these actors work together. So during the course of the lectures that I give here in the college, I focus quite a lot on that culture and explaining it and demonstrating it to participants.